everybody, welcome to Dakman Productions and welcome to Conrail. In this video, we're going to run my Conrail auto parts train. This is Conrail train number C86. Conrail train number C86 is a unit 86-foot boxcar auto parts train. In other words, all the train cars on this train are all Lionel 86-foot high cube boxcars, and there are 17 of them. It makes for a long train, so you better have a long layout for this. If you'd like to learn more about the 86-foot high cube boxcar, stay tuned to the end of this video. I also had a fan who heard about me getting ready to run this train. He had asked, do you really have a long straightaway to run these? And we'll take a look at that as well at the end. For now, let's enjoy.
This is the dispatcher. Do you copy?
Roger that, dispatcher. I read you. Over.
Okay, start her up. Stand by for track orders.
Gotcha, dispatcher. We're ready to move. Out. Dispatcher, made up and waiting on a clear track. Am I clear to the outbound? Over.
Negative. Stand by. Over.
Copy that, dispatcher. Waiting on a clear signal. Out.
Okay, this is for those of you who stayed past the video. By far, this is the toughest train to run without derailing it. That's what I can say about this. So let me explain that. My Lionel Autoracks actually run better than these 86-foot high cube boxcars. And I know what you're going to say, how's that possible if the Autoracks are longer and they feature the same climatic couplers? Well, here's the problem with the 86-foot high cube boxcars. And I know this because I had to take a couple of them apart to put weights in them. So, the high cube, 86-foot high cube boxcars does not sit on a solid platform or a solid frame like the 89-foot Autoracks do. There are 3 pedestals that the bodies screw down onto the front, the chassis. So the body actually slips past the chassis or the frame and depends on those 3 pedestals to support it. And what happens is they do a lot of flexing, especially into the curves. Where the Autoracks, actually the body sits on top of a solid platform or a solid chassis and is very rigid and will not flex in any curve. That's why the Autoracks run better in curves than these 86-foot high cube boxcars. Now, even though I have 080 here, another thing I discovered as I'm making a long unit Autorack train with all that flexing going on, the climatic couplers are constantly snapping around curves. So what happens, you get that, if you watch my video, you'll see the cars actually bouncing back and forth into a curve, and that's the climatic couplers. As they straighten out, they'll bounce. So my tip is that this train would probably run on something a lot better that didn't have close curves that change direction. So as you can see, I got the curves come around and then it comes into a straight and then goes into another curve. And it makes it, don't get me wrong, but it does a lot of bouncing when it does it. So I have a lot of close quarter curves. I have a lot of curves on my layout. And it probably do a lot better on just a big oval. But anyway, so there's your couple tips. Next, let's see what we got here. I did cover this in my 86-foot high cube boxcar review video, but for those who didn't get to see it or skipped over a lot of sections, the 4-door 86-foot high cube boxcar was for the Ford and Dodge plants. The 8-door high cube boxcar was for the GM plants like Oldsmobile, Buick, and Pontiac. However, Chevy wanted to have both the 4-door and the 8-door versions at their plant. So a little cool thing about them. And some of these are still in use. They may not be used as auto parts cars, but some of them have been rebuilt by Union Pacific to haul paper, scrap tires, stuff like that. Very light stuff. Otherwise, if you load it heavy, it'll bend the frame. Alright, one last story. I know you guys like your Dakman stories, so here you go. This is something I read a long time ago. I don't know how true it is, but I'm going to go ahead and tell the story anyway because it's so cool. So, when the government decided to sell Conrail back in 1999 to between Norfolk Southern and CSX, CSX ended up getting the auto parts train. So it was their job to make sure that the auto parts train got to where it was going. However, the CSX or the Conrail crew was trying to help out the CSX management with things on, how things were usually done when it was Conrail. CSX basically telling them they're in charge, they're just an engineer, and what they say goes. So one day, the CSX was sending out the auto parts train, and the engineers noticed that the signals were directing them to go to New York instead of going to the plant out in, I believe it was Wisconsin. And unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever how you want to say it, the engineers decided not to say anything because they remembered what their management told them. So they took the train all the way into New York, as far as it would go, and it got stuck there. Just saying that the auto manufacturer was so mad that they called CSX and demanded that Conrail was to come back and service them again. They no longer wanted the CSX service. CSX, on their quick thinking, didn't still had Conrail locomotives still painted in Conrail quality. So they went ahead and used those trains for a while, even though, and that's why they had this very, very small CSX little patching or overstamping, I guess you could say. They still said Conrail on them, but in small little letters, it had the CSX under the road number of the locomotive. And that's probably why, if you look at the Lionel SD70 Mac Conrail quality number 777, in small letters it says CSX underneath the road number. And from my understanding, that's why, because the CSX wanted to have the letters as small as possible so the plants didn't see that it was actually CSX that was trying to service them. But they made up later on and so forth and so on. So there's a little funny history for you. So the question was, does my 17-car train fit in my longest stretch? So there's the end of the train. There's another 5-foot section behind that tunnel. And so we'll follow this along here. And it goes behind my silo. Comes across here. Into the next tunnel, which goes into this next room. And let's see here. Out that tunnel. Wraps around. So it doesn't quite make the stretch. So I'm about 2 cars short of, well, if you want, probably 3. Let's say 3. Let's make it fair. 3 cars short of making the whole entire train fit the stretch, the long straight stretch. And that long straight stretch is 35 feet, by the way. So I have a little over 35 foot of train because it doesn't fit on my longest straight stretch. Alright, so there's your answer. So the Lionel 86-foot boxcars actually showed up in a Lionel train set called the Big Blue train set, which was actually announced in the 2015 Lionel Volume 2 catalog. And it featured 4 different 86-foot high-cube boxcars and a Lionel Conrail SD70 Mac as a locomotive, and there was actually a add-on locomotive that was powered you could buy separately. So it wasn't until I got invited to the Run for Fun in 2017, sponsored by Henning's Trains and the North Penn O-Gaugers, and it was located at the old train farm. That's where guests could bring a locomotive, and they would set you up with some freight cars or passenger cars to run with it, depending on what you wanted to do. So I showed up with my Lionel Conrail SD80 Mac, and during that 2017 Run for Fun event, and they set me up with the 86-foot high-cube boxcars. I absolutely fell in love with them. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed another Dakman Productions video. And once again, to run these cars, you better make sure your track work is perfect. 080 is, I would recommend, if you're going to run a unit train like mine. If you're only going to run 3 or 4 cars, then you should be fine on 072. 054, maybe only 1 or 2 cars, but other than that, I wouldn't recommend it. Alright, thanks a lot. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you trackside. Goodbye.